Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video what we are going to focus on is function, right? And we are just going to focus on solving some CXC past paper questions. The first one is the function h of x and g of x are defined as h of x is equal to 10 divided by x minus 3 and g of x is equal to 3x minus 2. Part A, evaluate g of 4 and h of g of 4. So, if we're going to evaluate g of 4, we need the function g of x. So, we know that g of x is equal to 3x minus 2. Here, we want to find g of 4. So, g of 4 is equal to, what this is saying, anywhere you see x in the function g of x, replace it with 4. So, this is going to be 3. Instead of writing back x, you're going to write 4 minus 2. Simplify this. 3 times 4, that's 12. 12 minus 2, that's just 10. So therefore, g of 4 is equal to 10. Alright? Part II of part A, want h of g of 4. So we want h of g of 4. Now before we can find h of g of 4, we need the function h of g of x. What does h of g of x mean? H of g of x means that you put in the function g of x into the function h of x, right? So we know what h of x is, right? Let me just try that. So h of x is equal to 10 over x minus 3. So if we are putting the function g of x, we know that g of x is just equal to 3x minus 2. So if we put in g of x into the function h of x, then h of g of x is equal to the function h of x, which is 10 over, instead of putting x, we are going to replace x with the function g of x. But g of x is equal to 3x minus 2. So we're going to put 3x minus 2, subtract 3. Right? So now we know that h of g of x is equal to 10 divided by 3x minus 2 minus 3. So now we can go ahead and find h of g of 4. Anywhere we see x in this function, replace it with 4. So this is equal to 10 divided by 3 times 4 minus 2 minus 3, right? We know that all of this, 3 times 4, that's just 12 minus 2, that is just 10. So this is 10 over 10, which is just equal to 1. So this is now 10 divided by 10 minus 3, right? Ten divided by 10, that's just 1, minus 3, that is just minus 2. So therefore, h of g of 4 is equal to negative 2. Right? Now to part B, write an expression in terms of x for h inverse x. Inverse of x, right? That's what we want. Now you need to write the function h of x first. So we know that h of x is equal to 10 over x minus 3. Replace h of x with y. So we know that y is equal to 10 over x minus 3. Interchange x and y. So x is equal to 10 divided by y minus 3. At this stage, what we are going to do is to transpose for y. So in other words, we want to make y the subject of the formula. So here we have 10 divided by y minus 3. That means we want to get rid of this minus 3. We have to add 3 to both sides. So if we add 3 to both sides, if we add 3 to this side, we now have 10 minus over y on this side, because minus 3 plus 3 gives us 0, right? And if you add 3 to this side, you're left back with x plus 3, right? So now what we're going to do is to multiply both sides by y. So if we multiply this side by y and multiply this side by y, y will cancel y on this side. So on this side we're left back with 10. Then on this side we have y times x plus 3, right? Now we want y by itself, so we're going to divide this side by x plus 3. We're going to divide this side by x plus 3. So x plus 3 cancel out x plus 3. We know that we have y is equal to 10 all divided by x plus 3. But we don't want y, right? We want h inverse of x. So replace this y with h inverse of x is equal to 10 divided by x plus 3. And that's it. Now to the final part of the question, it asks us for g of x, meaning that we are putting the function g of x into itself. So we know that g of x is equal to 3x minus 2, right? And we want to put g of x into itself. So therefore, g of x is equal to 3. Wherever we see x, replace it with the function g of x. So this is going to be 3x minus 2 minus 2. Alright? Now distribute 3 to each term inside of the bracket. We get 3 times 3x, that gives us 9x. 3 times minus 2, that gives us minus 6. Minus this 2 here. So 9x minus 2 minus 6, that gives us minus 8. So therefore, g of x is equal to 9x minus 8. The function f of x and g of x are defined as f of x equal 3x plus 2 and g of x equal x squared minus 1 all divided by 3. Evaluate evaluate g of 5. So we want to find g of 5, right? That means we need the function g of x. So g of x is equal to, we know, that is x squared minus 1 all over 3. So therefore, g of 5 is equal to, anywhere you see x, replace it with 5. So that is going to be 5 all squared minus 1 all over 3. 5 squared, that's us 25, minus 1 all over 3. 25 minus 1, that's 24 over 3. And 24 divided by 3, that's us 8. So therefore, g of 5 is equal to 8. Right? Then the next part, part B, says, write an expression in terms of x for f inverse of x. So we need the function f of x, right? So we need to find f inverse of x. In order to find f inverse of x, that's what we want to find. We need the function f of x. So f of x is equal to 3x plus 2, right? Replace f of x with y. So y is equal to 3x plus 2, right? At this stage, interchange x and y. So x is equal to 3y plus 2. At this stage, transpose this to make y the subject of the formula. Here we have a plus 2. We want to get rid of this plus 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. So we know that x minus 2 is therefore equal to 3y. Okay, if you have positive 2 and you take 2 from it, it left you back with just 0 there. So this is just 3y. Now, this is 3 times y. In order to get rid of this 3, divide both sides by 3. So 3 cancel out 3. So we know that y is equal to x minus 2 all divided by 3. But what did they ask us for? They asked us for f inverse of x. So replace this y with f inverse of x. So therefore, f inverse of x is equal to x minus 2 all divided by 3. Right? So let's move on to part C. Write an expression for g of f of x in the form x plus a times x plus b, where a and b are elements of I, right? So we know that g of f of x. So we want an expression for g of f of x, and the expression should be in the form x plus a times x plus b, right? So we know that this means we put in a function f of x into g of x, right? What is g of x? G of x is this function here, which is x squared minus 1 all over 3. So we know that g of f of x, anywhere we see x in the function g of x, is going to replace it with f of x. So that is going to equal to f of x all squared minus 1 all over 3, right? But what is f of x? F of x is 3x plus 2. So where we see f of x here, we replace that with 3x plus 2. So this is now 3x plus 2 all squared minus 1 over 3. Right? We can expand this part, right? And if we expand this part, square the first term, so square 3x, that gives us 9x squared, right? We're going to have plus 2 times 3x, that's 6x, plus an x, 6x, that's going to be 12x, right? Plus 2 2's, that's 4, minus 1 all over 3, right? Now, we know that g of f of x is equal to, simplify the numerator, we get 9x squared plus 12x plus 4 minus 1, that's just plus 3, all divided by 3, right? Here, if we divide each term in the numerator by 3, we get g of f of x is equal to 9 divided by 3, that's just 3x squared, plus 12 divided by 3, that's just 4x, and 3 divided by 3, that's just 1, right? Now, we can factorize this, and if we factorize this, you know that AC, which is the coefficient of the x squared term, times the constant, that is going to equal to 3. To get our b term, we know we need 2 factors of 3, that when we add them, we get positive 4, and when we multiply them, we get 3, and that is 3 plus 1, right? 3 plus 1 is 4, and 3 times 1 gives us 3. So therefore, we can replace this b term here, which is this term, with 3 plus 1. So our new equation is 3x squared plus 3x plus 1x plus this one plus 1. Now we can factorize by grouping. So if we group the first two, what is common between the first two? We have 3x is common. Factor out 3x out of the first term. 3x out of 3x squared. Use the 3x to divide each term here. So 3x squared divided by 3x, that leaves us with x. 3x divided by 3x, that leaves us with positive 1. Here we can factor out a positive 1. Factor out positive 1, we're left back with x plus 1. Now we can go further to factor out x plus 1. So if we factor out x plus 1, factor out x plus 1 out of the first term, we have 3x left, so that is 3x. Factor out x plus 1 out of the second term, we have plus 1 leave. So therefore, our final answer is g of f of x is equal to x plus 1 times 3x plus 1. And it is already in this form. Alright? Let's move on to the next problem. Two functions are defined as follows. G of x equal 4x plus 3. F of x equal 2x plus 7, all divided by x plus 1. State the value of x for which f of x is undefined. They are asking you to state the value of when the denominator is equal to 0 basically. Because when the denominator of the function is equal to 0, the function is said to be undefined because you can't divide by 0. So all you need to do is to just set the denominator equals 0 and solve for x. So x plus 1 is equal to 0 and solve for x. So here you need to subtract 1 from both sides, so x is equal to negative 1. Right? So the value of x for which f of x is undefined is x equal negative 1. That's it. Now to part B. Calculate the value of g of f of 5. So they want us to calculate this value. Right? But before you are able to calculate the value of g of f of 5, you need to find the function g of f of x first. Right? What is g of f of x? This means that you are putting the function f of x into the function g of x. What is g of x? G of x is equal to, let me write it here, g of x is just equal to 4x plus 3, right? And we know that f of x is just equal to 2x plus 7 all divided by x plus 1, right? So if we are now putting the function f of x into this function g of x, then g of f of x is equal to 4, open bracket, instead of putting back x, you are going to put the function f of x, which is all of this, which is 2x plus 7, all divided by x plus 1 plus 3, right? So we can simplify this, which is equal to, we can take this 4 to multiply each term in the numerator. So 4 times 2x, that gives us 8x, plus 4 times 7, that gives us 28, all over x plus 1 plus 3, right? So we now know that g of f of x is equal to 8x plus 28 all divided by x plus 1 plus 3. Now we can go ahead and evaluate g of f of 5. What this is saying, take the function g of f of x, and anywhere you see x, replace it with 5. So this is going to be 8, open bracket, 5, because we're not going to write about x, we're going to replace it with 5, plus 28, all divided by x. But what is x? X is 5. So that's just 5 plus 1 plus 3. Right? We can simplify this to get 5 eighths, that's 40. 40 plus 28, that is 68. All over 5 plus 1, that's 6. Plus 3. Right? Now we could simplify 68 over 6, right? We could reduce that. We could divide both terms by 2. So if we divide 6 by 2, that is equal to 3. Divide 8 by 2, that gives us 4. Divide 6 by 2, that gives us 3. Plus our 3 here. So we know that all of this is just f of g of 5. Right? So we could further combine both of these, right? So we know that f of g of 5 is equal to 3 is the same thing as 3 over 1, right? So I could, that means I need a 3 here. So I want the denominator to be the same. So I could multiply 3 over 1 by 3 over 3. So if I multiply this by 3 over 3, then I would have 34 over 3 plus 9 over 3. Right? Now the denominator are the same. You keep the denominator of 3. And you just simply add the numerator. So 34 plus 9, that is 43. Right? So our final answer is, therefore, f of g of 5 is equal to 43 over 3. Alright? Let's look at the final part of the question. So now they want us, part C says find f inverse of x. So we want to find f inverse of x. That's what we want to find. So first, you write the function f of x. So you know that f of x is equal to 2x plus 7 all divided by x plus 1. Where you see f of x, replace that with y. So y is equal to 2x plus 7 all over x plus 1. Interchange x and y. So x is equal to 2y plus 7 all over y plus 1. At this stage, what you are going to do, you are going to multiply, you are going to transpose for y, right? So in order to transpose for y, you need to multiply both sides by y plus 1. So you multiply this side by y plus 1 and multiply this side by y plus 1. Y plus 1 cancel y plus 1. So we have x times y plus 1 is equal to 2y plus 7. Now you can distribute this x to each term. Take the x to multiply each term. So x times y, that gives us xy. X times positive 1, that gives us positive x, which is equal to 2y plus 7. Now at this stage, you want to group the terms with y's on one side of the equation. So I want to get rid of this xy. It is positive. So what I'm going to do is to subtract xy from both sides. So if I subtract xy from this side and this side, I left back with x, which is equal to 2y plus 7 minus xy. right? Now I don't want this plus 7 on this side, so I am going to subtract 7 from both sides. So on this side I will left back with x minus 7 is equal to 2y minus x y, because when I subtract x 7 from this side, these positive 7 and minus 7 is going to cancel out. What you can do now, you have two terms with y, you can factor out y on this side. So keep this side, which is x minus 7 is equal to, factor out a y, so y, factor out y out of this first term, leave you back with 2, factor out y out of the second term, which is xy, that leaves you back with x. So now we want y by itself, divide both sides by 2 minus x. 2 minus x cancel 2 minus x, so we leave back with y is equal to x minus 7 all over 2 minus x. But remember, what we want is f inverse of x. So here, replace this y with f inverse of x. So therefore, f inverse of x is equal to x minus 7 all divided by 2 minus x. And that's it. Let's look at another problem. January 2015 past paper. The functions f of x and g of x are defined as f of x is equal to 5x minus 4 divided by 3 and g of x is equal to x squared minus 1. Evaluate f of 7. So we know that f of x is equal to 5x minus 4 all divided by 3. Now they ask us to evaluate f of 7. So therefore f of 7 is equal to, anywhere you see x in this function, replace it with 7. So that's going to be 5 times 7 minus 4 all over 3. And this can be simplified. 5 times 7, that is 35. So 5 times 7, that's 35. 35 minus 4, that is 31. So that's just 31 over 3. So therefore, f of 7 is equal to 31 over 3. Right? Now let's say we must write an expression in terms of x for f inverse of x. So we want f inverse of x. We know that f of x is equal to 5x minus 4 all divided by 3. We're going to replace this f of x with y. So we say y is equal to 5x minus 4 all divided by 3. At this point, you're going to interchange x and y. So x is equal to 5y minus 4 all divided by 3. At this stage, what you're going to do is to transpose for y. So multiply both sides by 3. Multiply this side by 3 and this side by 3. X times 3 gives us 3x is equal to 5y minus 4. Right? We need to make y the subject of the formula, so we are going to add 4 to both sides. So if you add 4 to this side and you add 4 to this side, clearly you'll see that minus 4 plus 4 cancel out each other. So on this side we left back with 3x plus 4 equal to 5y. Now want y by itself, divide both sides by 5. Divide this side by 5, divide all of this by 5. 5 will cancel out, so we know that y is equal to 3x plus 4 all divided by 5. But that's not what we want. We don't want y. We want f inverse of x. So replace this y now with f inverse of x. So we know that f inverse of x is therefore equal to 3x plus 4 all divided by 5. Right? Let's look at the last one. It says, write an expression in terms of x for the function f of g of x. Right? So we know that f of g of x means that we are putting the function f of g of x into the function f of x. So that's what this means. We're putting the function g, and this function here, we're putting g into this function f of x to create a new function, right? So now, what is f of x? We know that f of x here is equal to 5x minus 4 all divided by 3, right? Now we want to put g of x into f. So we know that g of x is equal to x squared minus 1, right? So therefore, f of g of x, right, is equal to the function f of x. So wherever you see x, you are going to put g of x into it. So this is going to be 5 open bracket. What is g of x? X squared minus 1. X squared minus 1. So now we would have had 5 times x, but instead of writing x, you replace that x with g of x, which is x squared minus 1. That's it. Minus 4, all of that over 3. Now you can distribute this 5 to each term in the bracket. So you take the 5 to multiply the first term, take the 5 to multiply the second term, right? So 5 times x squared, that gives us 5x squared minus 5 times 1, that's us 5 minus 4, all of that divided by 3, which is equal to 5x squared minus 5 minus 4. The signs are the same. Keep the sign and add the numbers. So 5 plus 4, that's us 9. So that's minus 9 all over 3. So therefore, f of g of x is equal to 5x squared minus 9, all of that divided by 3. And that's it. Alright? Given that f of x is equal to 4x minus 7 and g of x is equal to 3x plus 1 all divided by 2, determine the value of a g of 0 plus g of 5. So they want us to find g of 0 plus g of 5. You can find g of 0 first, right? Find the value of g of 0. Or we're going to find the value of g of 0. We need the function g of x. So we know that g of x is equal to 3x plus 1 all divided by 2. So therefore, g of 0 is equal to, replace the 0 in this function anywhere you see x, so this is going to be 3 times 0 plus 1 all over 2. 3 times 0, 0 times anything gives you 0, so this g of 0 is just equal to a half, right? Now we need to find g of 5, so g of 5 is equal to 3 times, anywhere you see x, replace it with 5, so that's going to be 5 close bracket plus 1 all divided by 2. Therefore, g of 5 is equal to 3 5s, that is 15, 15 plus 1, that is just 16 over 2, right? So now, 16 over 2, g of 5 is equal to 16 over 2, that's just 8, right? So now we can go ahead and just simply combine these together. So we know we want g of 0 plus g of 5. What is g of 0? G of 0 is a half, so this is a half plus g of 5 is just 8, so this is a half plus 8. A half plus 8, that is just equal to 8 and 1 over 2. Alright? So that's it. So let's look at the second problem. So now we want to find f of g of 5. But before we can find f of g of 5, we need f of g of x. Right? We need that function first. And what this means that you're going to put g of x into the function f of x, sorry. Now we know that f of x is equal to 4x minus 7. We also know that g of x is equal to 3x plus 1 all divided by 2. So therefore, f of g of x is equal to, we know we're trying to put the function g of x, which is this function, into this. So what you're going to do, you're going to have your 4. Open a bracket. Instead of writing by x, you replace it with g of x, which is all of this function. So it is going to be 3x plus 1 all over 2, close bracket, minus 7. Right? Simplify this, or you could leave it as is, because f of x is just this. Now we can go ahead and evaluate f of g of 5. So therefore, f of g of 5 is equal to, anywhere you see x, put 5 there. So this is going to be 4 times 3, open bracket, instead of putting by x, replace it with 5. So that's just 5, close bracket, plus 1, all over 2, close bracket, minus 7. Right? And you just simplify this. So this is equal to 3 times 5, that is 15. 15 plus 1, that is 16. 16 divided by 2, that is 8. So all of this inside of the bracket simplified to be 8. So we know that this is 4 times 8 minus 7. Right? 4 times 8, that is just 32. So this is 32 minus 7. Right? What's 32 minus 7? 32 minus 7 is just 25. So therefore, f of g of 5 is equal to 25. Alright? So now we are at part C. So we need f inverse of 1. But before we can find f inverse of 1, we need the function f inverse of x. Right? So we need to find this first. So we know that f of x is equal to 4x minus 7, right? So we know we replace f of x with y, so y is equal to 4x minus 7. Interchange x and y, so x is equal to 4y minus 7. Alright, transpose 4y, so that means we need to get rid of this minus 7 and get rid of this 4, so we can get y by itself. So because we have minus 7, add 7 to both sides, and this side we have x plus 7 is equal to 4y. Alright, now we want to get rid of this 4, divide both sides by 4. 4 cancel out 4, so y is equal to x plus 7 all over 4. Therefore, f inverse of x is equal to x plus 7 all divided by 4. So now remember that they didn't ask us for f inverse of x. They asked us to evaluate f inverse of 1. So now we can go ahead and evaluate f inverse of 1. So f inverse of 1 is equal to, anywhere you see x, replace it with 1. So that's going to be 1 plus 7 all over 4, which is equal to 8 divided by 4, that's just 2. So therefore, f inverse of 1 is equal to 2. and that's it. The function f is defined as f of x equal 1/3 x minus 2. Find the value of f of 3 plus f of minus 3. So we know that f of x is equal to 1/3 x minus 2. And they want us to find f of 3 plus f of minus 3. Right? We're going to take this function and put where we see x, replace it with 3. So for f of 3, it's going to be 1/3 times 3, close bracket, minus 2. All of that being added to f of minus 3. Let's replace this x with minus 3, so that's going to be 1/3 times minus 3, close bracket, minus 2. Alright? 1/3 times 3, that's just 1, right? So this is just 1 minus 2 plus, right? And we could put this in a bracket to show that all of this is f of 3 and show that all of this is f of minus 3. So this is plus 1/3 times minus 3, that's just -1 minus 2, right? What's 1 minus 2? 1 minus 2, that is just -1, plus -1 minus 2, that's -3. So -1 plus -3, that is just -4. Alright? So therefore, f of 3 plus f of -3 is equal to -4. So part B, calculate the value of x for which f of x is equal to 5. So they tell us that f of x is equal to 5. But what is f of x? We know that f of x is equal to 1/3 x minus 2. So 1/3 x minus 2 is equal to 5. And what we are doing is solving for the value of x. So we have minus 2, we need to get rid of it, we need to add 2 to both sides. If we add 2 to this side, we're left back with 1/3 x is equal to 5 plus 2. So 1/3 x is equal to 5 plus 2, that's 7. Now we need to get rid of this 1/3 here. So in order to get rid of this 1/3, we can multiply all of this by 3 over 1 and multiply all of this by 3 over 1. So 3 over 1 cancel out 1 over 3 there. So we're left back with x is equal to 7 times 3 over 1, that's just 21. So x is equal to 21. Alright? Now for part C, determine the inverse of the function f inverse of x. So we now want to find f inverse of x, right? That's what we want. We know that f of x is equal to 1/3 of x minus 2. Therefore, replace f of x with y, so y is equal to 1/3 x minus 2. Interchange x and y, so x is equal to 1/3 y minus 2. Alright? So now we are going to transpose 4y. That means we want to get rid of this 2. So we are going to add 2 to both sides. So write back what you have, which is x equal 1/3 y minus 2. And because we want to get rid of this 2, we need to add 2 to this side, and we also need to add 2 to this side. So minus 2 plus 2, that gives us 0. So on this side, we are left back with 1/3y. On this side, we are left back with x plus 2. X plus 2. Right? Now we need to get rid of this 1 over 3, right? So we can divide both sides by 1 over 3. So if you divide this side by 1 over 3, you can divide this side by 1 over 3. So 1 over 3, well, you cancel 1 over 3, so that is equal to y here, right? And what we're left back with here, dividing by 1 over 3 is the same thing as multiplying by 3 over 1. So this is just 3 over 1 times x plus 2. Right? So we know that y is equal to, so we know that y is equal to 3 open bracket x plus 2, right? But they want the inverse, so let's replace this y with the inverse. So therefore f inverse of x is equal to 3 times x plus 2, and that's it. You can distribute this 3 if you want, but you can leave it there, same thing. All right. Our final question for this video comes from January 2019 paper. So it says, given the function f of x is equal to 2x plus 3 all divided by 5 minus x, determine a, the value of x for which the function is undefined. If the function is undefined, it means that the denominator is equal to 0. So 5 minus x is equal to 0. Now all you need to do is to solve for x. So here we have a positive 5. So if we subtract 5 from both sides, we can get rid of this 5 on this side. And all you know, if you subtract 5 from both sides, it appears as if I move this positive 5 and bring it across to this side and change the sign. So this is minus x is equal to 0 minus 5. So minus x is equal to minus 5. Here, you can either divide both sides by negative 1 or just multiply both sides by negative 1. So divide both sides by negative 1. Negative cancel out negative, so x is actually equal to positive 5. So positive 5 is the value of x that makes this function undefined. And think about it. 5 minus positive 5, that is 0. Alright? Now, part B, write an expression for f inverse of x. So they want us to write an expression for f inverse of x. Right? Again, we know that f of x, that is equal to 2x plus 3 all divided by 5 minus x. We know we need to replace f of x with y, so y is equal to 2x plus 3 all divided by 5 minus x. Interchange x and y, so x is equal to 2y plus 3 all divided by 5 minus y. Now we are going to transpose for y. In other words, we need to make y the subject of the formula. So what we are going to do is to multiply both sides of the equation, which appears as if you cross multiply, but we are going to multiply both sides of the equation by 5 minus y. So this is going to be x times 5 minus y equal to 2y plus 3 all over 5 minus y times 5 minus y. 5 minus y cancel 5 minus y, we're left back with this side here, which is x times 5 minus y. But we can just distribute this, right? So if I distribute this and I take x to multiply each term, I end up with x times 5, that was 5x, minus x times y, that was xy, equal to 2y plus 3, right? Now all you need to do is to group all the term with y. So if I need to group all the term with y on one side of the equation, it means that I need to get rid of this positive 3, and I also need to get rid of this minus xy. So I'm going to get rid of the positive 3 first. So that means I need to subtract 3 from both sides. So I need to subtract 3 from this side, and I also need to subtract 3 from this side. So positive 3 minus 3, that cancels out. So on this side I'm left back with 2y. All I left back with here is just 5x minus 3 minus xy. Right? Now I need to get rid of this xy, so I'm going to add xy to this side. And I'm also going to add xy to this side. Right? Negative xy plus xy, that's a 0 there, right? So on this side I left back with 5x minus 3 is equal to 2y plus xy. Now what you need to do is to factor out y here. So if I factor out y out of this side, and this side I'm going to keep what I have, which is 5x minus 3 equal to, factor out y, this is y, open bracket, factor out y out of the first term, that leaves you back with 2. Factor out y out of the second term, that leaves you with plus x. Alright? Then what you're going to do is to divide this side by 2 plus x, and divide this side by 2 plus x. Right? We divide both sides by 2 plus x. 2 plus x cancel 2 plus x, so we're left back with y is equal to 5x minus 3, all divided by 2 plus x. Therefore, f inverse of x is equal to 5x minus 3, all divided by 2 plus x. And that's it. I hope that this video would have helped you to master the concept of function at the CXC level. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.